Hi, today we're talking about CCM8, Unit 4, Lesson 5, Ordering Numbers in Scientific Notation. Some things to remember before we put these numbers in order. First, make sure all your numbers are in scientific notation before you put them in order. That's going to be helpful. After you do that, compare the powers of 10, then compare the decimals. And lastly, if a number has no exponent written, it's understood that it has an exponent of 1. So we're going to put these numbers in order from least to greatest, but first we need to make sure all our numbers are in scientific notation first. So we're going to have to change, looks like this one, and then these two over here. Remember, if you move a decimal to the left, you're adding an exponent. If you move a decimal to the right, you're going to subtract an exponent. That's always helpful for me to write it down so that I remember time after time, because we're going to be doing this a lot today. So here we're going to need to move this decimal 2 places to the right. So I'm going to actually subtract 2 from the exponent. So this number written in scientific notation is 5.2 times 10 to the 5th power. Like I said, this one's good. Let's do this. We're going to have to move this one to the left. So that means we're going to have to add 1. So this already has an exponent of 1. It's invisible, but it's understood that it's 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. And this one is just a whole number. It's not in scientific notation yet. So I need to put it in scientific notation, move it over twice. So 5.34 times 10 to the 2nd power. So the first thing we're going to do is compare the powers. So I've got 10 raised to the 5th, 10 raised to the 5th, 10 squared, and 10 squared. So I want to order them from least to greatest, so I'm going to be focusing on these two numbers first because they're the smallest exponents. And then once I do that, I compare the decimals. This is the smaller decimal, so this will be first, then this will be second. And then if I compare these two, looks like this is my smaller decimal when I'm looking at these two, 5.12 versus 5.2, 5 and 12 hundredths, 5 and 2 tenths. You can kind of hear it as you say it, which one's smaller. And then when we rewrite our answer, we write them using the original numbers listed. That's always the tricky part. So I'm going to go back through and I'm going to rewrite the numbers actually that were in purple. So 53.2 times 10, that was in first place, or the smallest. Then it was 534. Then it was 5.12 times 10 to the 5th. Then it was 0.052 times 10 to the 7th. That list, this whole list, is my answer. Okay? Let's look at this one down here. There's a couple things to remember. First of all, looking at it, they're all in scientific notation. That's great. But if you look at the exponents, all the exponents are negative. If you think about a number line, all on this being 0, the more you go to the right, the greater the number becomes. The more you go to the left, the least the number becomes. So if I'm talking about, if I'm comparing these, and I've got -8, that's actually less than -6 using a number line. So that's something we have to remember when putting these numbers in order. So we're solely going to look at the powers. So this right here, -10, that's actually the smallest power out of all of these. -10 is less than any of these other exponents. The next smallest exponent would be this one, then this one, and then this is actually the biggest. So again, we just focused on the powers, and -10 was the smallest power. And then we just rewrite them in order. 6 times 10 to the -10th. And then 8 times 10 to the -8 9 times 10 to the negative 7th, and then lastly, 7 times 10 to the negative 6. That's it. All right, on your paper, why don't you pause the video and try this one here. Remember, all of the numbers are negative exponents, and you might have to change some of them to put them in scientific notation. So pause the video, you try it. I'm actually going to do it on the board, and when you've finished, just go ahead and push play. All right, did you get what I got? Hope so. That one was a little tricky. As always, you can use your calculator to help you figure it out as well. And the last one, we're just going to, we've got one negative exponent, so that that might be a dead giveaway, but first we need to put these numbers in scientific notation. Again, why don't you stop the video, you put these numbers in scientific notation first, and then check with me to see if you got that part right. All right, looks like all of our numbers start with 5.3. So we're really just concentrating on the exponents. So let's put them in order based off the powers. We're going to have smallest comes first. 1, 2. So we've got 5.3. No, we got to write it in order based on what it came, what the problem was in the first place. So 5,300 times 10 to the negative first, then 5.3 times 10 to the fifth, then 0.53 times 10 to the seventh, then this last one here, 530 times 10 to the eighth. All right, one more problem and then we're all done. Our word problem. Measuring instruments may have different degrees of precision. So instrument A is precise to 10 to the negative second power, centimeters, excuse me. Instrument B is precise to 5 times 10 to the negative second centimeters. And instrument C is precise to 8 times 10 to the negative third centimeter. Order the instrument from most precise, which is the least possible error, so the smallest number, to least precise, which will have the most possible error. So we're just listing them in order from least to greatest. So I summarized the information I was given. We have instrument A, B, and C, and then I rewrote them. I know that it said instrument A is precise to 10 to the negative second power. I rewrote that as 1 times 10 to the negative second power because 1 times anything is itself. That helps me because, remember, I look to see if all these numbers are in scientific notation. They are. Then I look to their powers. So this is going to be the smallest number, or the least possible error, which is the most precise. So that's going to be our number 1. And then these powers are the same, so I'm going to look to the numbers. 1 is smaller than 5. So this is my order. I've got instrument C, then instrument A, then instrument B. All right, I hope this helped.